You are listening to the Body Charge podcast, and I'm your host, Sandy Sanderson. Welcome to the Body Charge podcast. Today's topic is electro-pollution, inflammation, and premature aging. What are the effects of the increasing electrification of our work and home environment? Our Earth's own electromagnetic field protects life from the harsh solar space environment, but humans have now amassed a grand array of electro-pollution that adds a great strain to our life and health. From TVs, computers, and mobile phones beaming out EMFs, to radio frequencies, radar, and electrical leakage from power lines, we are now enveloped in a soup of unnatural frequencies and electrical energy. My special guest today is Carlos Millan, a software engineer, biologist, historian, and Qigong therapist who lives in Mexico. He's involved in research to understand how life reacts to and deals with electro-pollution. So welcome aboard, Carlos. Lovely to have you on the Body Charge podcast.
Thank you for having me, Sandy. Lovely to be here as well.
So my first question is, how does electro-pollution affect our own bioelectrical system? And what are the typical symptoms people may experience? Because I know it's very broad and wide-ranging and often gets confused with other illnesses. And so often doctors may miss the sensitivity to the electrical pollution, and then the issue isn't addressed. So how can people discern what the differences may be, or even give them a clue as to how to investigate further?
Well, that's a great place to start, I believe. I will say that electromagnetic pollution is simply more, interaction with signals from our environment. But these signals really are all sorts of, everyday encounters. So I will say if your job stresses you out a lot, and if your family, brings you some kind of conflict, and if you don't take time to make exercise and to eat properly, then there's too much disharmony going on all at once. And then it's hard to say, when it's exactly the effect, of a power line nearby, or too many Wi-Fi repeaters at work, and when it's a combination of multiple factors. But I will say one key indicator is if you feel drastically better when you are away from a building. It's quite possible that something in that building, and not only electrical wiring and internet infrastructure, but there could be multiple electromagnetic fields interacting there that are somehow draining your energy, or simply sending out so many signals that your cells get exhausted, interpreting and filtering out, what's not necessary. And the feeling of tiredness, the feeling of low energy might very well come from, yes, the electromagnetic field combination of that building.
So I think it's really about the stress load people are having to put up with in our modern world, isn't it? It's never just one thing. It's like a soup or a whole bunch of factors coming together. So, if you eat something that doesn't agree with you and you have an allergic reaction, it may be that your immune system is right on the edge because of other stresses. So you have less resilience. You become much more hypersensitive to any kind of other triggers that, as you said, exhaust the signaling of the nervous system in the body, because it's stretched, doesn't have enough resources to cope because it's so busy dealing with the stress load of this background stress. We may not even be aware that it's happening, because isn't it the case that sometimes the body gets used to things, it thinks that that's normal? It's only when you switch it off and you feel the difference that you think, oh, I didn't even realize that that was causing this because I got used to it. So what you're recommending is people like to have a checklist, maybe that they have something that might suspect that's causing problems with their background stress, their work environment, their home environment, a particular room in the house. Maybe you're on the other side of a smart meter, or you work across the road from a 5G tower, or have a look and be mindful of your electromagnetic environment where you live and work, and think, well, maybe that could be causing some of the health issue, and if I remove myself from that, does it make a difference?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I will also say explore your sensitivities because each one of us is more, yeah, reactive to some sort of stimuli. For instance, and right now it's probably not a good example of me being mindful and taking care of myself, but my eyes are very, sensitive to light. So right now I have a light on, for the purpose of the podcast, but I do have realized that the less, direct light that I can have at night, pointing right into my eyes, I can sleep better, and so that makes a lot of difference for me. And one, for me, it's about balance also because, okay, maybe you feel really bad, with driving at night, and then if it's only a two-way lane, or the cars coming in the opposite direction, it's too visible, the light, and it hurts your eyes, but that's your way to get home and you cannot do anything about it. Then it's what can you do to help your body counter that effect,
Compensate.
and maybe you can, give yourself a nice, like, tea bag treatment for your eyes, or you can be mindful about going to sleep earlier, than maybe you would do if you didn't have this eye fatigue. So that's just an example with eye fatigue, but really it's about getting to know yourself, and yeah, kind of having this awareness that we live in a world with a lot of pollution everywhere of all sorts, and realizing that light and electric inputs around us are also forms of pollution, and how you negotiate with it. I will say, without becoming overstressed or having a very radical attitude, but how do you compensate and say, well, maybe on the weekends I completely disconnect from all gadgets, no, all device, and see if that helps your body feel more nurtured through the week. And little details like that kind of help. Yeah.
Yeah, because we don't want to give up our electricity because it gives us so many comforts and so much functional efficiency in our work and life generally. We can't actually go back to the Stone Age, but I think because technology has moved so fast, and perhaps our regulatory agencies, our scientists, government officials haven't really caught up with the impacts. It's just new technology is churned out and pushed out so fast that we don't account for the extra weight that that's causing on the bioelectrical system. So that my next question is, how does it affect our DNA and our micro, and as you said before in your little intro, nanobiome? So what's the difference between a micro and a nanobiome, and how does it work together with the DNA, and how does the electrical environment affect it?
Absolutely. Well, what we have observed, thanks to advances in microscopy, is that in recent years we have been paying a lot of attention about the bacteria in our gut, and how having healthy bacteria is vital to having good health, mental health, and physical health. The new area that biology is beginning to understand is that not only the bacteria around the cell, but much smaller microorganisms inside of the cell make all the difference when it comes to determining how much energy will the organs have to perform their functions properly. And you mentioned before that a food allergy might be a symptom that your whole system is under way too much stress. And I think that's actually right on point, because it's not that the body is not resilient. Actually, the body has an amazing adaptive capacity, and it can solve almost anything. But if you throw it too many things at once, then it's going to go like into overload, and what happens usually is that certain areas of the body, let's say tissue in the liver or tissue in our kidneys, will say, you know what, too much going on at the moment, too much demands, coming from the nervous system, from the lymphatic system. I'm gonna isolate, and solve my own thing for a while. And, that makes sense that they make a priority to focus inward. The problem is if that goes on for too long, it will start developing a different metabolic rhythm than the rest of the body. And then, if that happens on the pancreas, then we have diabetes. If that happens in our capillary, veins and arteries, then we start to have hypertension, So a lot of chronic conditions are actually just our tissue trying to take care of itself and, saying, I'm going to disconnect from other demands of the body, from other communications, and yeah, I will actually, if you allow me to enter with my screen,
Yeah.
just to have as a reference. I know some people are listening to us, but because you asked me about the nanobiome, it's useful for those who can watch to have the reference. But basically, the nucleus we have always pictured, as a stable unit within the cell. And not only the nucleus, but we are also told, in high school, junior high biology class, that we have mitochondria and we have um, endoplasmic reticle and all of these organelles of the cell that are supposed to be fixed structures and perform specific actions. And what we now can visualize with new microscopy technology is that these are not fixed organelles. These are actually living nanoorganisms that continuously exchange electric charge with the purpose of adapting the field of the cell to perform different functions through the day. And not only perform different functions, but also borrow biologic material one cell to the other. So the reason why we or biology, that's still being taught in high school, it kind of created the idea of isolated cells is because this idea of a cell that is circular or semicircular with a membrane actually comes from watching a cell with a collapsed electromagnetic field. If we look at cells with healthy electromagnetic fields, it's like looking at a music visualizer, where depending on the music, you see the dots of light dancing around in different shapes. That's how a cell, a truly living cell, actually looks like. And because it's
So
so adaptive.
can I just
Yeah.
interrupt for a little bit? So you mentioned about the membrane of the cell. So
Yeah.
what helps to hold the organelles in is the electromagnetic field, creating the membrane structure, because it's not a skin, as Professor Gerald Pollack described in his research and books. It's not a skin, it's a field of electromagnetic negative and positive charges, and it keeps stuff out and holds stuff in. And then you have protein channels which allow this transfer or this borrowing, as you said, of materials. So nutrition goes in and waste products come out, and the cell can function when it has the right fields in the right place doing the right thing. But when it depolarizes, when it loses charge, everything gets looser, the membrane gets leaky. And this is what I found when I was researching about magnesium, because my business is electromagnesium.com.au. So we have transdermal magnesium products. I've discovered that most people are deficient to some extent in magnesium these days, and it's directly related to stress levels. The more stress you have, the more you lose magnesium. And you have to have magnesium to feed the mitochondria to make your ATP, your electrical energy of the cell, to drive the power of the body. And when you don't have enough energy resources, everything goes slower and less efficiently. Cells become weaker, the membrane loses charge. And then when the membrane loses charge, the cells leak out moisture, water, potassium comes out, and it shouldn't. When you start to lose potassium, it can give you a heart attack. It can become quite serious the lower the magnesium levels get. And it's directly related to stress levels. So this mitochondrial effect is extremely interesting, because I think it's the core of the whole problem of all of the disease states. Doesn't matter what label you give it, it's about energy resources in the body. So please continue and show us your diagram.
It showed me a notification that you have a notification that the other.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I was ignoring it. Sorry about that. Bring in the third screen.
Okay. Yeah. So just to show the example, because I think it's way easier to visualize what exactly are these nanoorganisms inside the cell. I actually think they are ultimately made of minerals. So for me, it makes a lot of sense that you screen sharing is disabled.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
No, don't worry.
I should have set it up earlier before we started. I wasn't expecting. But you know what? If people are interested to see the diagrams, we're going to put your website details underneath the video, and they can click on and go to the site to see the pictures.
Okay. Yeah.
What's the website they should go to?
The website is Biome, like the last part of microbiome or nanobiome, but just biome.mx. That's the website. And since what I show are videos, not static images, I can share the link if anyone. There's the email address on the website, and if anyone is interested to look at the videos, I can share those with them for sure. But to dive now into, in my experience, what magnesium does, and some other minerals that are really key to energy function inside the cell. So I completely agree with you on that. It seems that magnesium is especially flexible in the way that it can group and nurture electrically a wider range of amino acids than any other mineral that has been studied as a supplement. So one thing that we often, lose sight of is that amino acids, which, are the precursors of peptides, and then peptides become proteins. Amino acids are made of minerals, mainly. So what Gerald Pollack has found, and well, not only him, but other researchers as Peter Maury, is that if you place minerals in water and you give them a source of energy, the minerals will start to self-assemble and organize, and they will develop more complex structures, you know? So ultimately, if you give your body good quality minerals, and if you give your body exposure to natural or harmonic ways of energy, you know, sunlight is the most affordable we can turn
And
to.
with
But there are
infrared,
some,
yeah, because
yeah,
the sun has natural infrared energy,
absolutely,
which
absolutely.
which makes the water move. It creates the momentum in the water molecules. It's just a magical
Yeah.
system. I don't think we're taught enough in school, and it's unfortunate because children are naturally so thirsty and hungry for knowledge. It's something that we can easily teach because it's very basic. When I talk to farmers, they get it straight away. If you want to
Mm.
grow healthy vegetables, what do you need? You need soil with the right mineral balance, with the right pH, with enough water, with enough sunshine, all the environmental conditions right. And then the plants do their job. They've got all the right conditions to fulfill their DNA program. And our cells in our body are no different. We have to be good gardeners.
Yeah, yeah, actually, I would say, and this is something that some researchers, you know, familiar with the work of Gerald Pollack maintain that the information is not even in the DNA, that it's on a collective magnetic field of all, you know, living beings. So there's a magnetic field of, let's say, sunflower, you know, and so the sunflower just reads the information on that collective field.
Yeah.
And something that takes us to believe that is that based on empirical evidence, they have tried to actually, for instance, take out the nucleus of a cancer cell and insert that nucleus in a healthy cell. So remove the healthy nucleus and then insert the faulty DNA. And it turns out that the faulty DNA did nothing. The cell remained completely healthy.
Fascinating. That's the
Yeah.
field because the field is organized in the right way. And so, to some extent, if we inadvertently take on board toxins or some kind of toxic waste or heavy metal or something that blocks our system, the body has usually should have the resources to push it out, to detox, to get rid, except if it's in overload. And that's the problem that modern societies face now is that people cannot detox and remove the blockers of their electrical energy enough. And magnesium itself can be blocked by heavy metals and certain chemicals, medications. There are many things that can block the active fluoride, for instance, put
Mm.
into the water supply, binds up magnesium so you can't use it. But the good part is that when it joins up with the fluoride, it protects you from absorbing that fluoride. So then you can get rid of it, but you lose a lot of magnesium in the process. So it just goes to show we have to be very mindful of sticking to the natural resources as much as we can, living a natural lifestyle. I was thinking the other day when I looked at my lemon tree out the back and I picked a nice fresh lemon and I smelt the beautiful fragrances and aroma, and it just felt really crisp and it was juicy and it was full of life force. But the
Yeah.
following week, the ones that I didn't use straight away, they were starting to get a little bit more shriveled and really lose their life force. They were deteriorating. So it seems to me that the tree and the lemon, just like our cells and our bodies, we send and receive electricity from the whole planet, from our whole the sphere that we exist in. We draw from that electrical environment, and when we disconnect, life goes. The life force disappears, and fake things and plastic things and artificial things that do not conduct that life force inhibit our own generation of electrical life force. Would you say that was right, or do you want to add something to that?
Yeah, I would like to add that it's also important to keep in mind that the electromagnetic field of our own body is quite powerful, especially the heart and the brain have, like a little bit of a material shifting reality capacity, to really impact, uh, especially in the state of ourselves, So I see it as a combination of, as you say, trying to get as much as we can in contact with the language of nature, because that's the language of life, that will always remind us of the harmonic way to live. But when we don't have that accessible, because we live in a big city or we have to work long hours at the time, I will say, yeah, let's have in mind that at some point it will benefit us to probably switch to something that's less stressing, less exhausting. But in the meanwhile, let's remember that something as simple as a cold shower, as a meditation, as something that brings our awareness into our body and, knit together with positive intention. That's incredibly powerful. So, yeah, I
Cold
like
showers are
to,
good. Cold showers are good because the flowing of the
yeah.
water delivers negative ions. It's like standing next to a waterfall or the side of an ocean with the waves coming in. The negative ions help to discharge that positive energy, which is restrictive and makes us feel bad because it's suppressive. Whereas negative ions charges us up again, like we're charging our mobile phone. We can go out in the sunshine and be next to the ocean and get a recharge. Also has a lot of magnesium in the air next to the ocean as well. So we
Yeah,
are really like a battery, aren't we? We're a human biological
absolutely.
battery, and our animals, our plants, all living creatures are their version of a battery. And we interact with each other, and our fields interact with each other. And when things go wrong, it's because the field becomes disorganized, as you said. It's getting its signals mixed up, it's not organized, and it's getting stress overload. So it starts to decompose, if you like, or disassemble, or left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. As far as the body goes, it's not connecting all the signals. So this can lead to not only physical health issues, but mental, which is also physical, but it's to do with the mind and brain function. And your whole electrical nervous system relies on this energy, which is coordinated. So it's electricity, which is intelligent, isn't it? It's the information in the field. Would you like to add something to summarize the whole concept and the message that we would like people to get to help that mindfulness to connect and live a more electrically beneficial life?
Mhm. Um, yeah, just maybe summarize that we are beings of water, that minerals are what water uses to charge up our internal battery. And so I will recommend that whatever supplement you use, magnesium is great. I totally resonate with you on that. Try to charge your water with negative ions, so the magnesium will deliver best results. So depending on how, what format is the magnesium,
Yes,
you
because you
might
have to be
dissolve
able
it.
to digest. So the
Yeah,
reason, so,
exactly.
so I helped my own health issues a long time ago by using transdermal magnesium. So when you are
Yeah.
stressed, your digestive system, your microbiome, things don't work very well. You can't extract all the good nutrients, even if you're eating a fresh, healthy food, organic diet. If digestion is compromised, and you certainly can't get all the nutrients from tablets and powders, which have extra fillers and binders. And so add an extra load to that system. But absorbing a natural magnesium chloride salt dissolved is easily absorbed through the skin. So we have lotions, creams, sprays, all sorts of different products to suit different skin types, where you can easily absorb transdermally much more than you can digest and absorb through the gut wall itself. Using the outside epidermis, your skin layer, is giving you a bigger dinner plate from which to extract your nutrients. It's a very good thing to do, and you can feel the difference straight away. It's very calming and relaxing. And I think that's square one, just to remove the stress and to calm down and to get back to the rest and digest parasympathetic stage so you can recover.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. And just to add a little bit of detail to that, I will say from the perspective of the nanobiome, what happens when you are taking in magnesium through transdermal application, I will say that the magnesium binds to the nanobiome of the skin, and then it is used consciously. So it is not just, like um, chemically dispersed through the system, but from the very beginning, it is used by the live intelligence in your body
Yes, the body
to
never
nurture.
overdoses itself. It takes what it needs, what it can cope with at any one time, because nothing is artificially pushed into the body, such as what would happen with a drug.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I love it. Yeah, yeah. And it also makes me think that when you are, kind of allowing your body to use it, at its own rhythm, you can also, or I like to make this exercise where I say, okay, I wanna, improve my digestion. I wanna heal from whatever imbalance. And I'm not gonna do it just out of will and out of my individual consciousness, but allowing this, intelligence of the microbiome and the nanobiome to connect to life, to source, to whatever we want to call it, and say like, okay, well, I have my human emotional blocks and limitations, but please, I give you the main stage, nanobiome inside me, and do your thing. I want to
Yeah.
heal, because for me, that they have power of their own.
Yes, that's the power of mindfulness. But to get to that stage, to receive that information from the field, you have to get rid of the discordant energy and calm everything down so you can open your vessel and receive that information. So getting rid of the stress that makes you hyperactive and tight and tense is the first stage, is step one, to then opening up to the field. So everything works together in stages. And it's so important to be mindful, as you made a good point there.
Hmm.
And then you'll get another clue. Your body, your mind will start to talk to you. You'll start to receive those messages, get inspirations, intuition, and follow a better path to supporting your body. So that's a great note to finish on. Is there just anything you would like to tell people before we finish this podcast?
Um, I hope I am not too pointed on this perspective. It's just a reflection of how we can sometimes be over demanding of ourselves, even when we're trying to decompress and relax. We kind of push ourselves, and we tell ourselves, "Oh, you're not making a good job,"
Judge,
and
judgmental. Yes, we're judging ourselves
yeah,
all the time, aren't we?
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Instead of
so I would
allowing.
say, yeah. So I will say, just as sometimes, we don't manage to do, the best version of ourselves in front of our family or in front of our colleagues, but sometimes we open to something bigger than ourselves, and we just say, let me be there in the best possible way. Yeah, I used to sometimes, disconnecting to the field. Sometimes it comes not from your own, breath practice or your own meditation. It sometimes it might come simply by making the ask, and sometimes you receive help. So I will say,
ask and you shall receive.
yeah.
And so that means opening your vessel and using your field to connect with the greater field of the cosmos. It's the universal soup that we live within. It's all electrical, intelligent electrical energy. And so we need to connect in an organized way so everything fits and connects. So thank you so much for fitting and connecting in with the Body Charge podcast today. I so enjoyed this interview. Thank you, Carlos.
Thank you as well, Sandy.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.
I hope you liked this conversation and will share it with others. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. If you want to listen to other Body Charge conversations, click like, subscribe, the bell icon, and click all notifications. Subscribe to our newsletter to get updates on blogs, podcasts, videos, and magnesium special offers at electromagnesium.com.au. Relax, recharge, and recover.